I haven't missed a race since 1965. I've either been there as a spectator or a participant. You know, and in the first years, I used to go up there with my little cooler and sit in the stands and couldn't wait for the Unlimiteds to race. And when those guys would come by, I'd say, those guys are nuts. I don't know how in the heck they could do that kind of stuff. You know, they're crazy, you know. Chuck Hall even had hair back in those days. He's gonna kill me for that. When I first started watching air racing, my first race was 1965. The 400 barrier hadn't been broken yet. 400-mile-an-hour barrier, and I think Darrell Grenemeyer broke that barrier, and we all thought, holy smokes, no one's ever going to go faster than that. That's a good question. When I finished the restoration on Ridge Runner, I bought it in 1974, and it took about 3.5 years. I took possession of it in 1975, and it took about 3.5 years to get it restored. And they were having air races at Mojave in 1978. And they were short on airplanes. And I didn't know anything about air racing or anything else, but Clay Clabo, who used to race Iron Mistress, and I forget the other, Fat Cat was the other name on his airplane, kept calling me and saying, I kept telling him, no, this airplane's for air shows, I'm just gonna fly it. I don't know anything about air racing, you know. And finally he said, all you have to do is come down, fly around in a circle, and just so that we have something to show the crowd. So I said, oh, okay. So we went down to Mojave and we raced around, and it was so much fun that it kind of, I got the bug to go air racing. Then in 2006, of course, it was Dago Red. It's a real dream to fly. Once you get used to it, it's just made to go fast. And I know Skip enjoyed flying it, and I really enjoy flying it, and I hope to get another opportunity to do it. The airplane is just amazing. It's you point the nose down, and all it wants to do is go fast. Friday's race was the first race, and I lost a rudder trim tab on that race. The airplane was vibrating a little bit after about lap number 2, and my friction lock was loose. The power kept coming back. Then I looked down, and I dropped about 10-15 inches of power, and Rare Bear and Tiger passed me. And I said, what? And then I came back up on the power after the trim tab left, departed the airplane. The airplane got smooth. So, and I didn't know it was a trim tab. I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I came back up to race power, and I retook Tiger and Rare Bear, and I couldn't catch Mike Brown by then. So, but I did retain second place. After that, we worked all night putting a borrowed rudder on the airplane, and it worked out for us. Saturday's race, that was an interesting race. My engine wasn't running very well, and I didn't know why. I thought maybe the plugs were fouled, and I almost aborted the takeoff at the beginning of that race. And I got going down the runway. I said, nah, it's a plug, it's fouled, and it'll clean up. And I got to the point of no return, and I just kept going, and finally I was airborne, and it was not running as good as I like it to run. And on Friday's race, I had more than enough power to beat him coming down the chute. Because the airplane was really responsive with the way we had the engine set up, and it's slippery. Come Saturday, when we got released coming down the chute, he ran away and left me like I was tied to a post, and I said, there's something going on here. I'm using the same power, even a little more than I used on Friday, and he's pulling me like crazy. He ran off and left me at the start of the race. So what happened was he was flying a little on the wide side. In his defense, that's a heavy airplane with short wings, and it's hard to keep, tight on the race course. And sometimes their strategy would be to fly a little bit wider to keep someone from passing them. So after about 3 or 4 laps, I got kind of tired of that. So I figured, the only way I'm going to catch him is if I fly my own line and I stay a little high so I don't get next to him. So it becomes a dangerous deal. So I ended up passing him between 5 and 6. In fact, I passed him once, and then because he flew really wide, and probably from the spectator's point of view, it looked like a pass. And then on the following lap, on the very last lap, he went really wide on 5 and 6, and I just kept my line going on 5 and 6, and I just flew a shorter course. I didn't change the power setting at all, and I beat him by flying a little bit shorter course. The canopy latch come unlatched and unraveled on me, and it was open about this far, so I If you'd have had an in-cockpit camera, it would have been a comedy act watching me try to fly and chase Mike Brown around and key on him and let go of the throttle and hold on to the stick and try to close the canopy. It was just impossible to do. So finally I just left it, and it was so loud in there that it was deafening through my helmet from the canopy being open. And with the radio volumes wide open, I couldn't hear, just barely hear anything. I couldn't hear them on the last lap say checkered flag, and I just kept flying around. Finally, my crew says, "The race is over, pull up," you know. When I went across the home pylon, I was high, so I didn't see those guys anyway down there with waving the flag. When I got back on the ground and we pulled the screens, we found that the right mag coupler had disintegrated and retarded the right mag to the point where it was we lost a few hundred horsepower there, and it was just flying like a dog because the timing was off. I knew after Saturday's race that I was going to be in trouble Sunday because I'd used quite a bit of power. I hadn't used full throttle, but almost on Saturday's race. Tiger came using a whole lot more horsepower than I did because he had it to use. He was running different gearing in a supercharger, and they were running more RPMs than I was running. At around 115 inches, that was full throttle. After having a short conversation with Tiger, you never know what he's telling you, but he told me he was using 135 plus inches of manifold pressure on that Sunday race. So that there would tell me that he had a substantial amount of power to pass me at will. And once he passed Mike Brown, he had an open road to come get me, and he did. And he passed me pretty easily. I had a problem with my water injection system, and after Tiger passed me, I got the big red light on the dash showing that my water injection pressure was diminishing below safe levels. So I started reducing power on that Sunday race. You know, believe it or not, I was more worried about Rare Bear catching and passing me than I was Tiger, you know, at that point. But again, you never know who's going to catch and pass you, and you never know who has some extra stuff up their sleeve. So that's just air racing and strategy. The final results were he was first, we were second. If anybody was to win that race that day, and I like all those guys are my friends, but I wanted to see a Merlin powered airplane win. You know, whether it was him or whether it was me, I'm glad a Merlin powered airplane. You know, John Penny's a great guy and a good friend, and so is Mike Brown, but it was the Merlin's turn to win.